Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So, we're going to have an unboxing and first look of the FS iBTA01, and basically this is an IBus2 interface, so it'll work with all the MB4 transmitters. And what this allows you to do is data log and read live stats from a whole bunch of hobbywing race ESCs. So basically the XR10s, XR8s and the like. It plugs directly into programming port, so you can have it fixed at vehicle. Micro SD card inserted into here, so it can real-time data log, even if your transmitter's not capable of doing it. So let's bring in for a close-up look and see what we get in box. So first off, nice to see it comes in a proper nice little protective box. I do like these. One, because they look after whatever's in them in transport, and two, because you've then got a really useful little box. As we can see, it's the FS iBTA01, so it doesn't tell us an awful lot on the actual packaging. So let's get this open. So we get the actual unit itself, we get some instructions that nobody ever reads, we get another piece of sort of shrink wrap, we get some 3M tape to stick it down, and we get a nice bunch of stickers, because we all like stickers. So if we look at the actual unit itself, we have port 1, which is the port that goes to your receiver, port 2, which is the actual lead that goes to the device, so your speed controller's program port. We've got a little LED, as operating voltage is 3.5 to 9 volt. If we flip it over, you can see it says TF card. So inside here, you've got a little micro SD card, and it shows you put it in that way. And to get it out, you'll need some tweezers, because there's no eject port. So it's not one of the ones that you push to eject. So to get it out, you've just got to grab it with some tweezers and pull it out. But your little micro SD card goes in the back. We've got a USB-C port, so we can plug it directly into a PC, and we can download the telemetry without having to remove the micro SD card, which is nice. So let's give you a quick rundown of the actual specs and what this thing's capable of doing. So as I've said, the part number is FS iBTA01. It's an IBus2 protocol serial device, so basically you've got to run it on one of the enhanced receivers. So any of the sort of ones like the new INR8, or we've got, quite handily, we've got the INR4, we've also got the FGR4D, there's also the FGR4B, 8B, 12B, basically any of the enhanced receivers. So it's a real-time data recorder, so it will work with the XR8 Pro, XR8 Plus, XR10 Pro, Max 10 G2, the Platinum V4, 60, 80 and 120 amp, and Platinum V5 260 amp. So it'll work with a whole range of hobbywing ESCs, mainly the professional race series, and there is the newer Max 10 G2 that it'll work with. But yeah, I've got a whole bunch of hobbywing ESCs, so when we get a chance I'll be going through, see what it does and doesn't work with, but it gives you a whole bunch of them to start with. Operating voltage, as I've said, 3.5 to 9 volt. Dimensions are 28 by 15 by 6 millimeter. It's 6.8 grams. Temperature range -10 to +60 degrees C. Humidity 20 to 95%. And it is firmware upgradable. So what they're advising is, once you put the SD card in, put some heat shrink around it. If you're not going to run it in water, it doesn't really matter, but it does come pre-heat shrinked anyway, so shouldn't really be an issue. So the telemetry adapter functionality, the FS IBTA01 is capable of transmitting information from the connected device. If an electronic speed control device is connected, the telemetry parameters of the ESC can be viewed on the transmitter end, including voltage, current, speed, throttle, used power, ESC temperature, motor temperature, ESC status, and this will vary depending on what the ESC is capable of outputting. So it will be different on different ESCs depending on what bunch of data that ESC actually supports from the programming port. So once you've done a run, it will save the data in a text file. It will keep writing over it, so that's not going to be an issue. So yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting one to play around with this. Especially for the sort of racers to get, even if it's just practicing, to see real-time voltage of your actual race pack and everything, and what's going off with the speed controller, real-time temperature. Yeah, definitely. Not sure if it's going to be allowed in racing, but definitely for practicing and setup purposes, it would be absolutely fantastic. It's going to collect real-time data that's really relevant to you, especially for gearing. Being able to keep an eye on motor temps and your RPM of your motor and everything. Really, really useful. Definitely going to be something that's incredibly good as a setup device. Obviously, once you've got the car tuned for that track, you don't need to keep this connected. So if it's not allowed in your race series, you can just unplug it. But yeah, definitely for real-time data collection on setup, this is going to be an absolute game changer. Nice to see that it works with a whole bunch of the hobbywing ESCs as well, without the ESC itself having to be compatible. So I think this is sort of a evolution of the approach we saw with the hobbywing AX system, where you could get all the data and everything on your transmitter, but it only worked with ESCs when hobbywings put the firmware on it to work with it. This kind of sidesteps that and allows you to use the programming port to collect all the data. Be really interesting to see if, seems though this is firmware updatable and it's USB and memory card compatible. Be interesting to see if we ever get to the point where this can actually allow the transmitter to program the ESC or some of the functionality. That'd be interesting. But yeah, this is just a first look at the FSIBTA01. So let's wrap this one up. So there we have it, the FSIBTA01. Love the fact that Flysky are kind of doing things that are completely outside the box. Certainly as a setup device, this will be absolutely cracking for any kind of racing. Being able to see real time on your motor temps, your ESC temp, your voltages, how many milliamps you've used, things like that. And with it being directly off the ESC, it's going to be incredibly accurate information and very, very quick. Also, unlike the drawbacks of the hobbywing programmers, you can kind of data log on them, but they'll only work a few meters away, whereas this is going to work over the entire range at track constantly. So you're not going to have have to pull the car back into pits to get it close enough to your phone to sort of get the data. You're going to be able to configure the data to live view on any of the transmitters. So where your sensor panels are at the top, anything this can see as data could be displayed on the actual transmitter real time. But the fact that you can have up to an 8 gig SD card in here, so you could record incredibly long runs, and you've got the breakdown of the data all the way across it. You can see if your sort of motor is peaking out at max RPM. If it's not, you might want to change your gearing to get to then end straight where you're revving out. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a godsend for any racer that's got the Flysky transmitters. As a setup tool, it's going to be absolutely cracking. But yeah, that is the FSIBTA01 telemetry data logger for the Flysky MB4 Ranger transmitters. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in to Wtf Rc Cars. Hopefully you find this useful, entertaining, bit of both, just like listening to my incessant ramblings. But don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, chat to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.